How do you see the possible outcomes we might come up against in the short future, in the medium future? How do you see this scenario as a whole?
So looking at kind of AI and the way that human beings are interacting with it, I guess with
Yeah,
an emphasis on their well-being.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I think it's so, as you say, lockdown and the pandemic was a huge experience for human beings. And you know this very well in your work. What causes human beings to get stressed? Two key things are change and uncertainty, right? Having to adapt and not knowing what's going to happen. And it takes a lot of energy as well. And so when we went through the pandemic, and indeed we're still kind of coming out of it, there was an experience for people of, a very real fear. So normally when we talk about, I'm sure you do this with your clients as well, when we talk about the sort of stress response of human beings, normally we sort of say, our nervous system reacts to any threat as though it's a threat to our lives, right? So you sit down at your computer and your inbox is full, or you get stuck in traffic and you're running late, or, these sorts of things. And we have a stress response that is sort of outdated survival mechanism that is as though there's a threat to our lives. And one of the ways of working with that is sort of pausing and, taking a breath and reframing and realizing, okay, this isn't a threat to my life. I just have a full inbox, and making a bit of space around that. And how can I work with that? And so we had to do a bit of that in the pandemic, but the unusual circumstances were that we were also being told this actually is a threat to your lives, which normally, certainly with the people I work with, which is leaders and, knowledge workers mostly, usually when we're stressed, it's not really that sort of threat, right? So we had these different sort of stresses and challenges to our well-being, which was that we had to, adapt. We were told you have to stay home, you need to wash your hands, you need to wear masks, get a vaccine. And so there were a lot of things that we were told, to protect our own lives and other people's lives. That created a lot of fear. And then we also had to change. So we had to learn how to work from home. And that takes a lot of energy. To learn how to do things that used to be automated in a new way, right? We're here on Zoom together, and it's quite natural. We didn't need a sort of hour-long tutorial together beforehand about how to use Zoom. But in the start of lockdown, we did, right? Everyone was struggling, and we were constantly on mute, and people didn't know how to get off of mute. And, people accidentally had, cat face and all of these sorts of things as we learned how to deal with this technology, right? So that took a lot of energy to deal with that situation, because there was change and there was also uncertainty. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then just as we're coming out of that, we have this new change and uncertainty together with a very real threat, which is AI. And so what I'm hearing a lot from the companies that I work with is that what they see right now, already before we had this new challenge of an awareness, or perhaps more of an awareness of concerns about AI, is that people are exhausted. Lockdown was quite exhausting for people. And what I'm hearing is that people are saying, we sort of came out of lockdown and then it was back to normal, or some sort of new normal, which is maybe hybrid working, a bit in the office, a bit at home. But we're still having to learn a lot and adapt. And people are saying, I didn't really get the chance to digest the experience of lockdown. And I haven't had the chance to recover from that. And now already there's this new challenge of having to go back to normal and, remember how to socialize with other human beings, and, work from home and the office at the same time. And then just at this moment, so in November last year, ChatGPT was launched. And this seems to have been a sort of tipping point for public awareness and concern about AI, because we already knew about AI. Some of us were aware of some of the concerns about it. I joined the Oxford AI Society 5 or 6 years ago because I thought I just want to have some understanding of what's happening and what's developing, right? But now ChatGPT, just in a few months, already there are tens of millions of interactions with it every single day. And then, of course, in March, we had Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak and 1,800 other concerned researchers saying, actually, maybe we need to pause a bit the development of AI, right? Because, I think realistically, we have, tens of thousands of people working on making AI better and faster and, developing it, developing this intelligence. And maybe a few hundred people working on how to make it safer. So then you have this announcement from people actually working in the field saying, ooh, maybe we need to pause a bit and look at how we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And then last week, we had 350 concerned scientists and, people, even Geoffrey Hinton, who's one of the sort of developers of ChatGPT, and people from, Google DeepMind saying, actually, this should be a global priority on the same social scale as pandemics and nuclear war. So it's quite a lot for human beings at the moment, and I think the key points to look at is that we don't know exactly what the threat is to AI in terms of our lives. That's not clear yet, but we do know things are going to change a lot, and there is uncertainty. And so the very real issue to deal with now is that there's change and uncertainty. And change and uncertainty are not new. Change and uncertainty have been part of the human condition for as long as we know, and always will be, right? We'll always have change, and we'll always have uncertainty. We'll always need to adapt to new circumstances and situations, and it's not all bad. Some change is good, and it's us developing and growing and so on. And uncertainty is really the only thing we can be certain about, is that there is uncertainty. And so because these are not new challenges for human beings, we also have tools and knowledge for how to work with change and uncertainty. So I think having an awareness that, yes, this is a challenging time. There is a lot that will make human beings stressful now. And the kind of double whammy of pandemic and then starting to realize the potential threats and the pace of development, the fast pace of development of AI, having these two together, it makes sense that people would feel stressed, anxious, and so on. But also we have tools for how to work with that skillfully.